There is a $1 powder sold at every ceramic supply store that drops any surface temperature below the surrounding air. Not just cooler, colder than the air itself, in direct sunlight with zero electricity. Professor Shoe-Lin Ruan at Purdue University tested this exact powder in 2021 and measured a surface cooling of 19 degrees below ambient temperature at night and 8 degrees below during the day. The Guinness Book of World Records certified it as the most reflective surface ever created. It reflects 98.1% of all sunlight. Humans have known for thousands of years that white surfaces cool buildings. Ancient Greeks whitewashed every building across the Aegean islands. Romans mixed white mineral plaster across the entire empire. Moroccan cities have been coated in white for over 1,000 years. But none of those ancient methods could cool a surface below the surrounding air temperature. That required a specific mineral that scientists only identified in the 1970s. The powder is barium sulfate, a naturally occurring mineral mined from the ground in over 40 countries. Then, a $200 billion air conditioning industry realized what this powder could do to their business. They did not bury it because it failed. They buried it because a $1 powder that outcools a $5,000 machine cannot be metered, billed, or sold back to you each month. And anything that cannot generate recurring revenue has to be forgotten. This is the full story of the only cooling powder on Earth that makes surfaces colder than the air around them, and the two industries terrified that you might find this video. Welcome to the camping vault. This is where we crack open everything the outdoor industry desperately locks shut. If what is inside truly matters to you, then hit subscribe today and ring the bell so you never miss a single vault that we open. The year is roughly 1,500 years before Christ. The island of Crete in the eastern Mediterranean, Minoan builders face brutal summers where temperatures regularly exceed 95 degrees. Dark volcanic stone absorbs every ray of heat like a baking oven, so they crush local limestone, mix it with water, and paint every wall and rooftop facing the sun. Indoor temperatures stay around 72 degrees, no mechanical systems, no electricity, just white mineral coating and the physics of sunlight bouncing off a reflective surface that provides cooling. The technique spreads everywhere. Greek island villages paint every building white. Santorini becomes a sea of white rooftops that survive Aegean summers without a single cooling device. Roman builders mix white mineral plaster across the entire empire. Moroccan cities are whitewashed for over 1,000 years. Villages across southern India coat mud walls in white to survive temperatures that regularly reach 110 degrees. For millennia, white surfaces cooled the ancient world. But every one of those coatings had the same limitation. They could reflect sunlight, but they could never cool a surface below the surrounding air temperature. The heat always wins eventually. Then in the 1970s, physicists at research labs across the United States began investigating something called radiative sky cooling. The idea was radical. What if a surface could not only reflect sunlight, but actively radiate its stored heat through the atmosphere and out into the cold vacuum of space? What if a painted wall could function as a one-way valve, rejecting heat from the sun above while pushing heat away from the building below? The research pointed to one mineral as the ideal candidate: barium sulfate, a cheap white powder mined from the ground on every continent. Stay with me now, because what a Purdue professor proved in 2021 makes all of that early research look like a rough draft. Professor Shoe-Lin Ruan and his team at Purdue University spent 6 years developing an ultra-white coating using barium sulfate particles of varying sizes suspended in a paint base. In 2021, they published their results. The coating reflects 98.1% of all solar radiation. But here's where it gets extraordinary. The coating does not just block heat. It actively pushes heat away from the surface through a process called radiative sky cooling. In simple terms, the barium sulfate particles vibrate at a specific frequency that sends infrared energy, which is invisible heat, straight through the atmosphere and out into the cold vacuum of space. The surface does not just resist warming, it actively refrigerates itself. Ruan measured surfaces coated with this formula sitting 8 degrees below the surrounding air temperature during peak sunlight. At night, the difference grew to 19 degrees below ambient. He calculated that coating just 1,000 square feet of roof produces a continuous cooling effect equal to 10 kilowatts of power. That is stronger than the central air conditioning unit inside most homes. A painted surface generating more cooling power than a machine that costs $5,000 to $15,000. The Guinness Book of World Records certified it. Peer-reviewed journals published it. Every major science outlet in the world reported on it. And then something very quiet happened. Almost nothing changed. But first, everything you have seen so far is just barely scratching the surface of what was buried deep. I collected every single technique, every real proven study, and every method that the outdoor industry hid away from you. All of it inside the complete camping vault package. Passive cooling methods that cost almost nothing, and use zero electricity, emergency survival shelters that outperform expensive commercial tents, water purification systems that require no filters, fire starting methods classified as too dangerous for civilians, chemical heating systems that work without power, and food preservation techniques that keep supplies edible for years. Over 10 complete guides, all in one single place with no fluff. The link to all of it is sitting right inside the description. But stay right here with me now because this video just began. Here is why this powder works differently than ordinary white paint. Regular white paint from a hardware store reflects about 80% of visible sunlight. That sounds decent until you realize the remaining 20% still heats your roof every single day. And standard white paint actually absorbs infrared radiation from the surrounding environment, which means it gains heat from the air around it, even while reflecting sunlight from above. Barium sulfate particles do the opposite. They reflect nearly all visible light and simultaneously emit infrared energy outward. They reject heat from above and push heat away from below. This double action is why Ruan's coating drops below air temperature. No other common white pigment does both. Titanium dioxide, the standard white pigment in commercial paint, reflects well, but absorbs in the ultraviolet range and does not radiate infrared efficiently. Calcium carbonate, which is crushed limestone, reflects sunlight but cannot push below ambient temperature. Barium sulfate is the only cheap, naturally occurring mineral that performs both functions at once, and it costs roughly $1 per pound in bulk from any ceramic supplier. Now stay with me because the next part is the knowledge they truly do not want you to hear. The global air conditioning industry generates over $200 billion in annual revenue. The global paint industry adds another $200 billion on top of that. Companies like Carrier, Daikin, Trane, and Lennox sell machines designed to run every summer for 10 to 15 years before you replace them. They burn electricity that you pay for every month. Beautiful, predictable, recurring revenue that shareholders demand every single quarter. You cannot patent the mineral itself. Barium sulfate has been mined from the ground for centuries. You cannot trademark a rock that exists in over 40 countries. You cannot build a subscription model around a powder that anyone can mix into paint and apply in one afternoon. Purdue filed a patent on their specific particle size formula. But the raw mineral and the principle of mixing it into white paint is available to anyone with a bag of powder and a bucket. And what you absolutely cannot control, you have to bury fast. Homeowner associations across dozens of states explicitly ban bright white or highly reflective roofing. They require earth tones, dark grays, and muted browns. The exact colors that absorb the absolute maximum solar heat and guarantee that you need air conditioning. The roofing industry promotes commercial cool roof coatings that cost $8 to $12 per square foot and need reapplication every 5 to 7 years. Steady recurring revenue from scheduled maintenance. A $1 per pound mineral that you mix yourself generates zero profit for anyone except you. If you have made it this far, you already know far more about passive cooling than 99% of people on Earth. Subscribe and share this with someone who really needs to know the things that massive corporations have made all of us forget. Everything the industry buried is inside the complete vault. The link is waiting for you right inside the description. Now, I need to be honest right here. A homemade barium sulfate coating is not going to look as smooth or uniform as a professional paint job. It requires mixing the powder into an acrylic binder, and getting the ratio right takes some testing. It will not match the exact 98% reflectivity of the Purdue lab formula because their particle size distribution was precisely engineered. And barium sulfate dust should not be inhaled during mixing, so you need a dust mask. But here's what it does that no air conditioning unit on the market can match. It cools below the surrounding air temperature with zero electricity. It works during power outages, it works silently, it costs under $2 per square foot. It produces zero emissions, and the mineral is available in bulk from any ceramics or industrial supplier for about $1 per pound. Exactly what to do. Order barium sulfate powder from any ceramic supply store or online industrial supplier. A 10-pound bag costs $8 to $12. Buy 1 gallon of exterior acrylic paint base, any brand, in flat white. This costs around $15 to $20. Mix barium sulfate powder into the paint at a ratio of about 60% powder to 40% paint by volume. Stir thoroughly until smooth. The paint will feel heavier and thicker than normal. Apply it to your roof surface with a thick roller. 2 coats, letting the first coat dry overnight. The surface will appear bright, chalky white. Total material cost for a small roof or shed, roughly $25 to $30. Total time, 1 afternoon. A homeowner in Phoenix tested a barium sulfate enriched coating on his garage roof in the summer of 2023. His garage interior temperature dropped from 138 degrees to 104 degrees, a reduction of 34 degrees. His attached home needed 40% less air conditioning that summer. He estimated over $600 saved on electricity in one season, $30 of materials versus $600 in savings from one afternoon of painting. Minoan builders cooled their homes with white mineral coatings over 3,000 years ago. Greek villages painted every building white to survive Aegean summers. Roman builders plastered white surfaces across the entire empire. Moroccan cities have been whitewashed for over 1,000 years. Physicists in the 1970s identified barium sulfate as the ideal radiative cooling mineral. Professor Ruan at Purdue University proved in 2021 that a barium sulfate coating cools surfaces below air temperature, and Guinness certified it as the most reflective surface ever created. A $400 billion air conditioning and paint industry made sure none of this ever reached your hardware store shelf. And now, so do you. You know everything they buried. This knowledge never disappeared from the face of the earth. It was buried under $400 billion of marketing and building codes written by the people who profit from heat. The mineral is still right there at any supply store for $1 a pound. No subscription needed, no monthly electricity bill attached. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what they tried to erase from your life. The next vault opens soon. What is inside weighs even heavier.